Okay, so today's date, 1/28.
It's the 29th.
Yeah, thank you. It is the 29th. Thank you. So our objective today has to do with negative exponents and zero exponents. So we talked about this yesterday, and I want to do it again today. So everything I'm going to go through should be going back one more time. Josh, you're with me, aren't you? Right?
Yeah.
So zero exponents. So we know that anything, any number to the 0 power is always equal to 1. Always, okay? Anything. No matter what. 5 to the 0 power, 100 to the 0 power, x to the 0 power, because x is a number. It's just we don't know what the number is. That's why we call it a variable. Negative exponent. The problem with negative exponent is they need to move. So you need to move up or down to make positive. Okay, so on the column over here, I'm going to give you a couple of rules. Yeah, Raleigh?
Why is the variable like a standard variable like x and y?
Yeah, it's just, that's a really good question, okay? Super good question. I don't have a decent answer for it. It's just, it's always been like that, right? Because x is confusing because it looks like a time sign. I know. N would be better because because it represents a number. Heck of a good question. It's the only answer I have is it's always been that, okay? Yes, Chris.
I need to get.
That's not good. All right, here we go. Miles, will you pass that back to him, please? So let me keep going. I'm going to give you a few rules. So if I have a n to the negative a, that's the same thing as a 1 over n to the a, okay? A negative a, so these are numbers, right? N to the negative a, it's negative exponent, it's 1 over, okay? If I have a to the negative n over a b to the negative m, I'm just going to switch them.
Because you're just turning it into.
Yeah, this one comes up and this one comes down, right? It's going to switch them. So this becomes the b to the m on top and the a to the n at the bottom, okay?
What if you have 4 to the negative 4th?
4 to the negative 4 would be 1 over 4 to the 4th.
But why would you make it a fraction?
Yeah, and that becomes 1 over 256, which is a fraction. Yes.
But why would you make it a fraction instead of just
Because it gets rid of the
It depends. Like, for instance, I'll give you a great example. Sometimes we want an answer. We go to Marston's, and we want a board, or we want something cut. And we say, hey, can you cut it 6 squared inches? They're like, what? Oh, you mean 36 inches. Are you with me? Sometimes it's good to have the full answer, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, why not just say like a negative number instead of fraction?
Oh, but it's not a negative number, is it? It's not. It's just a negative exponent. It's not a negative number at all. So a great example of this is if we take 2 to the negative n power. It becomes 1 over 2 to the n.
But if it's a negative number, it stays negative.
Right. So now, you ready? Check it out. I get think about this, 1/2, then 1/4, 1/8, Raleigh, 1/16, 1/64. What's happening is it's getting to be a smaller and smaller fraction, but will it ever become negative? Never.
So it's like exponential.
Makes it, right. So it never makes it negative, does it? It just makes it a fraction, okay? All right, now the last rule I want you to give you is this one. If I have an a over b to the negative n power, like this, they're both going to become negative, right? So it's going to switch it. It's going to make it a b over a to the n power, okay? So these are rules that I want to keep that'll help me later on, okay? So those are my little column, okay? So let's do some of these. So example 1. When I see, did I move that too fast? Did I move that too fast?
Yes.
Okay, make sure you tell me when you're ready, okay? I don't want to go too fast. So when I look at example 1, we're ready. When I see negative exponents, if I got to move them up or down, I'm thinking fraction. Right? If I got to move them up or down, I'm thinking So I write a fraction line, okay? Okay, so example 1. I see a negative exponent, so I write a fraction line, okay? Just start with a fraction line, okay? And if it's a negative exponent, I'm going to move it down and make it positive, okay? So I brought the x to the negative 3 down and made it x to the positive 3. The y to the 5th is just fine. It's y to the positive 5. Leave it alone. And then z to the 0 is the number 1. I don't really need the 1 in this case because 1 times the y to the 5th is y to the 5th. So I could simplify this. I don't need the 1. Agree with that. So y to the 5th over x to the 3rd. And that's all I need to do. Mostly I fixed the negative exponent, didn't I? Thumbs up? Okay.
If it's, okay, so if it's not already a fraction, then we just move it down.
Right. So number 2.
Wait,
Right? Yeah, go ahead.
would you need to specify that c can't equal 0?
We're not going to go there yet, okay? Great question. Will you hang on to that question for about 2 months, okay? All right. The answer is yes, eventually. Okay. Number 2. Now, this, I'm going to move the x to the negative 5 down. This becomes an x to the positive 5, right? I'm going to move the x to the negative 2 up. That makes an x to the positive 2. So I'm just moving my negative exponents. If it's a negative exponent, I move it up to make it positive or down to make it positive. That's all I'm doing. Now, this y to the 3rd, it's fine. It's y to the 3rd. Leave it where it's at.
Where do the 4 and 8 go?
Great questions. So 4 and 8 are big numbers. It's like 4/8. So I want you to think of this as a fraction. 4/8. 4 over 8, or 4/8 reduces to, those are big numbers. What's 4/8 reduced to? 1/2. You okay with that?
Yeah, why don't we just write that first?
I could have. Let me write down. I could have. So now I've got one more thing to do. Anybody see what I can do?
Just get rid of
Simplify the x's.
Yes, yes, both you're right. So 2 of these x's should cancel 2 of these x's, correct? So I should wind up with a 1 over a 2x to the 3rd, y to the 3rd. Okay? Okay. Example 3. Fraction bar, okay? Right? The 4 to the negative 2 comes down. It makes it 4 to the positive 2. The x to the negative 3 comes down. It makes it x to the positive 3. The y to the 7, it's fine. Leave it where it's at. Y to the 7 stays up.
Mr. Davey?
Yeah.
This is for the last question. If you flip them because they have the negative power, and then you simplify the 8 and the 4, wouldn't the top one be 2x and the bottom one?
Oh, okay. Really good question. Okay, Tony. You ready?
When you just
So, real quick, what's the exponent on this 4? What's the invisible exponent on 4?
1.
So leave it where it's at. What's the exponent on this 8? Invisible exponent?
1.
Leave it where it's at. Okay, thank you. Good question. Okay, now, back to this one. The only thing I'm going to do different on this one is I can actually make 4 squared into 16, right? So let's make it a y to the 7th over a 16x to the 3rd, okay?
This is whack.
Okay, we can do this, right? If we just remember, negative exponents need to be positive. How do we change them? We move them. I'll say it again. Negative exponents need to be positive. How do we change that? We move them, okay? All right, here we go.
So if you flip the exponent, it just automatically becomes positive.
Yes. So check it out. How about example 5? So I'm going to do this in 2 ways. I'm going to make it first 4 to the negative 3 over x to the negative 6. Okay, so what I did is I brought the negative exponent into both. Okay, and again, right here, this has an invisible exponent. Invisible 1, right? You guys see, if you don't see it because it's invisible. There's an invisible 1 right here, right? You agree with that?
Yeah.
So you multiply the exponent, you get 4 to the negative 3. Multiply these exponents, you get negative 6. Okay, now I'm going to flip them, right? I'm going to flip it because if it's negative, I've got to move them. So I'm going to change this to a x to the positive 6 over 4 to the positive 3, right? Which makes x to the 6th over 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. Now, example 6, much more difficult than anything you'll do unless there's an extra credit problem, but that's okay. I think we can do it. So here's what I'm going to do. Example 6, step by step. I'm going to bring the exponent of 3 into everything. So I'm going to make it a negative 2 to the third. Make it an x to the negative 9. Y to the positive 9. I'll make it a 6 to the third power, an x to the 12th power, and a y to the negative 12th power. So,
Wait, why wouldn't you just flip them then?
I could, yes. Or I could have flipped them first and then brought it through. Yes. Both ways work. Penelope's, okay, absolutely. So I just brought the negatives, I'm not brought it now. Penelope said, why don't you fix it first, then bring in the exponent, and that will work also, okay? Believe it or not, both ways work. Okay, now here, I'm going to fix this, okay? So I'm going to move this one, okay? Move this one, and move this one, okay? So let me move my x to the negative 9 comes down, my y to the negative 12 comes up. Okay, so let's see what I have. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this as, well, can I just do a negative 8 here? Would you guys be offended if I just made that negative 8?
What?
Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2.
Oh.
No.
You don't like that?
No, I'm saying I
That's
won't be
fine.
offended.
Okay. Y to the 9th. Brought down my, oh, and do you mind if I change this to 216? 6 times 6 is 36, times 6 is 216.
Wait, wouldn't it be a positive 8? Or because you're doing 8 times, negative 8 times negative 8, and then the positive, or no, never mind,
Okay, it's okay. This x to the 12th is here, but I brought down my x to the 9, and this y12 comes up. So I'll give you a second to see what I did, okay?
Can't you just add the y's?
Yeah, you're right. I like that. That's good, yes.
Oh my god.
I'm glad you see these things, right?
Are there going to be like questions like
But
this on the
somehow
test or
still
the
get
homework
it.
I
tonight?
wish that lecture
Wait, how do you
longer.
get the second y to the 9?
Great, so this y to the 9th is already,
What's 12
There.
times 9?
see it? And it's positive, so I left it there. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to tidy it up. 8, does 8 go to 2? That might reduce. That might reduce. Let's see if I reduce them both
Wait,
by.
why does the 3,
So it's, shut up.
oh, never mind.
It's negative 2.
It does.
2. Who's got, anybody have,
I
you have a
got
calculator?
it, it's negative 0.3.
Okay, so do me a favor. Divide 216 by 4. 216 by 4, what do you get?
54.
That's what I want. So I get a negative 254. No, that can't be right. Divided by 8. 216 divided by 8.
Divided by 8, 27.
Ah, there we go. Negative 1. Negative 1 27th. What in the heck were we just doing? We were just reducing that fraction. That's all we were doing, okay? And then a y to the 21 over an x to the 21, right? Wow. That's a decent extra credit type problem, isn't it? Isn't that good? Okay, now